All right, so we're going to do just a high-level overview of everything that I've added to the scene so far. So first of all, you'll see there's a clock up here. We're at 9 a.m. right now. So there's a dynamic day and night cycle here in this game that's controlled by a timer script. The timer script basically looks at the current environment time in Unity, does some conversion, and parses out a time of day. If you let this go long enough, it would start counting up days too. Now, the sun up here, I have a script that actually controls the rotation of the sun. That script takes a reference to the timer class. The timer script rather, the timer script has a timescale property, and the sun actually looks at that timescale property and uses that to determine how quickly to rotate around the scene. So 24 hours up there on that clock, that sun would rotate around once. Right now I have it set up to, the timescale is 24x, so 1 hour in the real world would equal one full day here. So just to demonstrate what that looks like, I'm gonna crank up the timescale here, and then fire the scene back up. Oops. All right. So I'm using real-time shadows here in this scene. You'll see now it's moving a lot faster. So you can see the shadows are moving. That's the sun is moving around. So I'm basically just rotating the directional light with the script. So you can see the sun. If you look carefully, you can see the sun moving around. The only post-processing that I'm doing in this scene is a little bit of bloom, just because I think it makes the sun look pretty nice, especially when it gets close to the horizon down there. I'm not sure exactly why, but there's a lot of flickering going on with the with the bloom. I'm not sure if that's just VR or if just the Unity built-in bloom and post-processing is inadequate. I really don't know, but so the script also does some cool stuff, like it has some parameters to control certain certain properties on the procedural skybox that I'm using, such as color, environmental thickness, fog, that kind of stuff. And so you'll see at night the some of the skybox properties change, which is pretty cool because you can have kind of a different feel at night than during the day. So some other cool stuff about the timer is you can cue certain environmental behavior off of the time. So you'll see at 5 o'clock, if you can hear, there's like some ambient forest sounds going on right now. You'll see around 5, the current ambient sound track starts fading out, and more soundtrack more appropriate for evening starts fading in with like crickets and stuff. And then you'll also see that the lights of the shop turn on at 6. So in terms of locomotion, you'll see that I'm moving around just by teleporting here. You hold down the middle trackpad, and wherever you let go, wherever your pointer is, that's where you're going to teleport to. There's a settings window. You basically, by holding down this top middle button, you pop it up, and there's one option in there right now, which is slide movement. We can enable that. With that on, I can actually just slide around by holding the by touching the trackpad right here. So on the right controller, I can strafe left and right, and then the forward direction is just whichever way your headset is facing. And then the left controller I can use to turn, actually. So I don't really personally like the slide movement, so I'm going to turn that off for now. Oops. Okay, so inside the shop here, there's really not a whole lot in here yet, but you can open the door at least. And there's a particle system in here that's just kind of simulating like some dust to add a little atmosphere inside the house. But that's really all that's in here for now. All right, I'm going to restart the scene and crank down the timescale just so we have some more light. Here we go. Okay. So you'll see a bunch of tools here. Use the pickaxe first. So you can actually do some mining. See here, when you hit this rock. And then we got these. You can grab them. Put them in our backpack. So the way this works is pretty cool. I modeled this rock in Blender. Oops. And what happens is as soon as you hit it, you'll notice it gets fractured there. Basically what I'm doing is as soon as you hit this rock, I'm swapping it out with a second model that I created in Blender. I took the same initial rock and I applied cell fracturing to it to create this pattern. And then to create the animation, I basically, in Blender, applied rigid body physics to all the pieces here, and then put a plane underneath in Blender, and then basically just recorded an animation of gravity, making the rocks fall onto the plane. And then I baked that whole animation in and imported it with the model. So that's what you're seeing here. So that's all just an animation. So you can see now, the second user interface that I've created here is an inventory system. Actually, let's put this away first. So we've got the rocks that we mined right here. Description and a small video. I have some ideas about how this could be pretty cool. It could maybe look a little nicer. This is just a prototype right now. So any item that has a custom script component that I created called storable is you're able to put that in your backpack, and you'll see in your inventory here. All right. So these mushrooms have a storable script. So we can pick these guys up, put them in our backpack. And then you'll see these in our inventory too. Some more. So the dog I modeled in Blender and rigged in Blender too. It was my first crack at trying to model and rig something alive. And it's given me a lot of respect for animators because it's not easy. I have the rig, it's using inverse kinematics for the 4 legs, and then spline IK for the ears and the tail. Can't really interact with it or anything though right now. It's just like there's a script running that chooses from a series of 3 idle animations that I created and just kind of runs through those. So let's use the hatchet next. This is similar to the way mining works, but you can actually chop down trees here. And you'll see that the trees actually can respawn. They'll regrow out of the ground. So there's a particle system that kind of simulates, you know, the leaves blowing up. And then once it's on the ground here, we can chop it up. Grab this. You can see that guy regrow. So there's kind of two particle systems there. There's one that's the dirt flying out of the ground, and then there's another one with the leaves that follows the top of the tree up. And that works for these guys too, the other tree models. You have to hit it sufficiently hard enough, and I actually had to limit both the velocity and the angular velocity of the tools here, because when there was no limit, you could make the physics engine just go completely haywire. Because I think this thing traveling too fast is not conducive to good, accurate physics calculations. Yeah, and you'll see what I mean. The physics is not perfect yet, because that axe just flew out of my hand. Let's grab that guy. So this has a nice specular material on it. It reflects the sun pretty well. So put this guy away. You can see our logs in here now. Oops. That's not right. I bet I have the IDs mixed up on these. So the storable script has a flag of whether something is stackable or not, and I suspect I probably have the IDs duplicated on these two guys. Anyway, I have a sword and a shield that I modeled in Blender. These, you can't really do anything other than hold these right now. I think the shield looks pretty cool. But I can stash both these. They're over here now. And then I can show you climbing. So you can climb in this game. We're gonna climb up into the treehouse here. And then there's an archery range over here we can go check out. You can ride this thing down too. Actually, this is a weird feeling. Okay, so this bow I modeled and rigged in Blender. The rig is pretty cool too. So there's like kind of right around here-ish, right around the middle, there's a single control bone, and the way that the rig works is all you have to do is pull that back, and there's kind of two IK rigs on either end of the bow here that control the bending of the bow, but it's all controlled by this one control bone right here in the middle. So let's see if we can hit this target. There's some cool sound effects here too. Oh. So this is just an arrow spawner box. Yeah, I think, yeah, I accidentally just put the bow away. The inventory, the way that the inventory works is it's like an invisible collider back here somewhere. It's not perfect yet. The size and the shape I'm trying to get right, because there are some items that just the way that you hold them, it's easy to accidentally stow them back here. And the bow is particularly bad in that sense, so I need to fix that. But the way that script actually works is the inventory follows the rotation and the position of the camera, which is attached to the head-mounted display. But the problem I ran into is rotation on this axis, up and down, you can imagine that would be weird, because if the inventory is following this rotation, but behind it, if you look down, your inventory collider would be like up in the air, you know? So I'm basically ignoring rotation on this axis and only following rotation on this axis, but still the shape of the collider is still not perfect. But you can see the arrow sticks in that target there, and basically all that's happening there is there's a script on this target, and when it gets hit by an arrow, it basically sets the is kinematic flag on the rigid body component of the arrow to true, and then turns off gravity. So it just kind of sits there. I ran into some trouble getting the forest to render fast enough. I mean, just because there's so many trees. I spent a lot of time putzing around in the profiler and the frame debugger, and it was actually, I was CPU bound just from the sheer number of draw calls. So enabling GPU instancing on all these materials for the treetops and the bark actually helped a lot, because it's running pretty smooth now. I'm not dropping any frames or anything. The road over here, I did, you know, in a very similar way to the rocks and the trees. I used the self fracture tool in Blender.